la catástrofe que causan las fumigaciones con glifosato, porque al esparcirse en avión las partículas no solamente caen dentro del cultivo de hoja de coca, sino que van a dar a los diferentes productos, a los diferentes cultivos. De hecho, también hay muchas enfermedades que afectan a las comunidades indígenas y campesinas, también a los afrodescendientes.
Colombia supplies 80% of the global cocaine market. Its coca fields are not only a human catastrophe, but an environmental one. Coca growers using slash and burn cultivation have destroyed an area larger than Wales in their efforts to produce more of the drug.
So if we stop consumption of illicit drugs, then production won't go, then the jungle and the rainforest won't be open to grow this, and nobody will have to go and spray anything.
Nosotros estamos entre la espada y la pared, porque está la fuerza del Estado y las fuerzas insurgentes. Y entonces nosotros, por convicción y pensamiento NASA, hemos dicho que no compartimos la violencia. Entonces para los jóvenes, debido a que no hay trabajo estable, que muchos jóvenes pues por la misma necesidad se involucran, ¿no?
Cuando los jóvenes tienen cómo sobrevivir acá en el campo o en la ciudad, entonces no se sienten tentados para irse a la guerrilla o irse a los cultivos ilícitos.
Ese es un caso en que se vive y de allí que la organización pues tiene como meta cómo dignificar la economía y la producción.
More than 3 million civilians have been displaced as armed groups bombard their villages or subject them to massacres, giving Colombia the third largest internally displaced population in the world. The ups and downs of commodity markets can literally mean the difference between war and peace. Over recent years, when coffee prices fell, violence in coffee areas rose dramatically. Partnerships formed with organisations like Trade Aid are vital for Sincoa to survive these cycles of war and peace, boom and bust. These growers want only to market their coffee successfully and improve their standard of living. Today, the group from New Zealand visit one of the Sincoa coffee farms.
Ha permitido que conozcamos todo el proceso de la comercialización del café, poder tener lo que estamos teniendo hoy, una visita de un cliente, poder hablar con él.
Atomic Coffee Roasters is a company that's owned by Cerebus Creeks, New Zealand's biggest importer of green coffee, biggest roaster. Before they bought us, they didn't really have much of a concept of fair trade, other than that it was probably something that they should be thinking about. They've been allowing us to move more and more in that direction.
Esta es mi casa.
¿Quién vive aquí?
Está mi esposa, mis 3 hijos. Los que van para el colegio se levantan a las 5 de la mañana, desayunan a las 6 y se van para estar a las 7:30 en el colegio.
To think that every cup of espresso has about a couple of hundred of these, it's quite crazy. So these people probably, I don't know, it'd probably take them a minute to pick a cup's worth or something like that. But still, the value of that is far less for them than it is for us. I feel bad every time I drop a single cherry.
These people who grow the coffee and work so hard are getting paid so little for it.
Esta zona tiene un problema bastante fuerte en el secado. No tiene todo.
No tiene.
Secan en el piso. Cuando llueve mucho no hay cómo secar. Ese es el gran problema. Si no se le da un buen secado, entonces la calidad del café se deteriora muy rápido. Sabe a moho, muy bueno.
Una asociación que es conformada por 125 familias. Más del 80 al 85% de los socios no tienen ni siquiera una pasera como esta. Son materiales, a excepción del plástico, el resto se consigue en la zona.
¿Cuánto cuesta
el presupuesto fue con la mano de obra, $200,000 pesos.
It was wonderful to go to Sincoa. To actually see it in the flesh is impressive, really humbling. I think it helps them enormously to be able to sell their coffee as their own, because that in itself is a source of pride. More producers need to be dealing with the world more directly, and I think that's what fair trade achieves. It's a really good way to show Cerebus that we can improve the quality and the transparency of the coffee that we buy dramatically.
Well, Ewan's work and interest in fair trade coffee has enabled us to grow the usage here at Atomic to just under 90%, depending on availability.
In Australia and New Zealand, the sale of fair trade coffee has doubled in the last few years, making them the fastest growing fair trade markets in the world. We bought more than $10 million of fair trade certified coffee in 2008.
Back home, sales in fair trade coffee are set to jump by 2/3 from $8 million annually to over $13 million. From tomorrow, Wild Bean Cafe will serve only fair trade espresso in its 78 service stations nationwide. Wild Bean says the move's in response to increasing demand for ethically and sustainably sourced products.
Consumers have extreme power. Big corporations are watching to see where the consumer goes with their dollar, and they will follow it.
Usage of fair trade coffee has grown from about 8 tonnes 4 or 5 years ago to in excess of 300 tonnes in the coming year. That would be in excess of 25 million cups of fair trade coffee per year.
People have come to understand much more about the conditions under which goods are traded. It's not only about coffee or any one commodity, it's not even just about fair trade, but it's actually about people being what we call conscious consumers and understanding the conditions under which the things they buy are made.
Change is incremental, isn't it? I mean, every little bit counts, and I mean, that's the only way that anything's going to change, is if people start doing a little bit and then doing a little bit more.
Si tuviera la oportunidad de pronto de salir a donde se hace el mercado del café, pues les diría, queremos que nos apoyen porque somos jóvenes que estamos saliendo adelante. No queremos estar en conflictos sociales, ya sea conflictos armados, de pronto recurrir a cultivos ilícitos. Estamos protegiendo el medio ambiente, estamos motivando a la gente para que nos ayude a minimizar un poco los conflictos sociales.
Pues la familia, en ese caso los hijos, que ya están involucrados en todo esto y que me están acompañando, ¿no? Eso es lo más importante. Muchas gracias.
Shelf, the packaging's, you know, they put a lot of money into the design of package. You go, ooh, it immediately satisfies that. And you're like, quick, I'll just put it in a cup and it's going to take me to Columbian.
It's cheap. That's replacing the coffee experience with packaging.
It gives you the experience without any commitment. Experience without commitment.
Fondo Payas is another coffee cooperative. It's made up of 550 producers from one of the largest indigenous groups in Colombia, the Payas. It was established to preserve traditional agricultural knowledge and culture, which had been put at risk by endless fighting and oppression.
Se están juntando aquí los productores con los clientes, y dentro de los clientes una variedad de clientes, porque aquí hay un cliente que compra, pero hay otros que le compran a ese cliente y tuestan su café y lo elaboran para entregárselo al cliente final.
Buenas tardes para todos. Agradezco por parte mía, que estoy muy contento que han venido a visitar aquí.
Mi nombre es Justin Percy, estoy importador de café, comercio justo en Nueva Zelanda.
El comercio justo dice nunca por debajo del precio justo.
How fair is fair trade? One of the ways we could judge is through the certification system. This involves the independent auditing of producers and traders to make sure agreed standards are met.
It's not the only way, there are other ways, and to regiment this philosophy into a program, does that mean that you can't do it independently? Does this mean you can't feel and operate in business without it being certified? I hope not.
When you go and ask roasters, you know, do you pay a fair price? Everyone says, yes, we pay a fair price. And I think the consumers are quite right to say, we'd like a little bit more than your kind of personal assurance on this. You know, we would like a system of certification.
Perhaps you might be interested in what one of my days looks like in Wellington. I would start work at about 5:30 in the morning. At the moment, we roast about 430 kilos of coffee a week. I take the green coffee and I put it into our coffee tostador, in the coffee roasting machine, and I test the coffee as it roasts. I can look at it through a hole in the machine, and it changes smell from being grassy to a toasted chocolate smell. I'm looking for the perfect colour and smell and shape. At the opportune time, I open the door to the roaster and the hot smoking coffee comes out. And when it is cold, we weigh it, or put it in bags and take it to our cafe. This part of my day is my favourite, when I take the bags of coffee into the shop and I put them on the shelf.
Y los pongo en la estantería.
And the customers come in and take it all off the shelf. And in the shop, the barista is making espresso coffee, and the customers are very happy. So that is my job, is to try and roast coffee the best and to excite people about the story of fair trade and the producers. So like Ewan, I will be taking some of the story from here back to the customers in New Zealand.
Para nosotros es dificultoso conocer cómo es el proceso, cómo son las máquinas, cómo es el trabajo, y uno al escuchar uno como que se emociona mucho porque sabe que ese producto que uno tiene acá, como esa mata, todo el trabajo que hay que hacer y que pues es muy reconocido.
Creo que para nosotros esa mata es muy sagrada, pero no sabíamos que pues, en otra parte también había ese interés de valorarla y todo, ¿no? Teníamos el café, lo vendíamos al comercio, pero en ningún momento nos habían dicho, bueno, este es el valor de su café, esto es importante. Y eso lo emociona mucho a uno. Ahorita actualmente pues me da como esa alegría tanto de saber de que pues sí, de nuestros productos le han dado mucha importancia a usted.
Muchas gracias por creer en nosotros.
The coffee trade is huge, and Columbia is long jet miles from New Zealand. But this group have wound back the clock. By holding on to these new ideas of trade, even by just coming here, they've made the growers of this region their neighbours. They know them now. They expect them to be treated well.
Quiero ser médica, si quiero estudiar medicina.
Good things come from a good environment. If coffee is grown in a clean, organic and sustainable manner by people who are actually interested in what they're doing, then it's going to be better, and I think that's the bottom line.